All right, welcome to another episode of NFL Outdated Cover 2 series. This episode is on the Denver Broncos, and I am joined by Mike, host of Air Raid Attack Podcast. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me on.
Absolutely. Well, it's definitely a more exciting time to be a Bronco fan than it has been maybe the last 6 years. Searching for a quarterback, searching for an offense. Mixed in there, you stole my Bears defensive coordinator. That didn't go so well. Lots to kind of unpack here. But really, I definitely want to dive right in to the most exciting news for the Broncos and for you, the
Yep.
Russell Wilson trade. Where were you when that happened, and what were your thoughts when it went down?
Honestly, I was at work and it was a busy last 2.5, 3 months. And so I was at work, the Paycom Center to be exact, home of the OKC Thunder. But anyway, um, I was at work. And so a buddy of mine, Dan, who's a diehard Seattle fan, diehard, and he's the host of the Time DBS podcast, he texted me, "You're welcome." Now, remind you, we're working here. We're doing we got to make sure things are intact, so on and so forth. I'm completely confused at this point. Like, what are you saying you're welcome for? I'm thinking maybe
Mhm.
he's drunk. Maybe I don't know. Hopefully not. He's at work himself. So being in Long Island, but no. Long story short, he said you're welcome. Literally, Bleacher Report said, "Hey, by the way, that they sent out the notification. Denver acquires MVP Russell Wilson. Details slowly but surely getting out there." So my first reaction, I'm gonna be honest with you, back in my head, I couldn't really react where we were at, but I was relieved. We got a quarterback, smiling from head to toe, but smiling from head to toe, and so we're happy, but I was ecstatic to answer your question. Ecstatic. I'm at work, and I had to wait till I get home to legit celebrate Russell Wilson coming to the Mile High City.
Tell you what, yeah, no more Teddy Bridgewater. No, just searching for a quarterback.
Yep.
And as a Bears fan, I feel your pain. That whole process. When you feel like you've got just an amazing, defense and a team that's kind of ready, but you just don't have that last most important piece at quarterback. It's really frustrating.
Well, it is, and it's an organization that hasn't seen losing seasons back to back since the '70s. And of course, I'm 34, so I was not around for those years. But and then it became, we got three, now we got four, now we got five losing seasons. Now you got, now you got six straight without making the playoffs. All of course in Super Bowl 50, and it's been frustrating. Of course, Bear fans, I feel for we know the feeling, but hopefully, I expect a playoff run this year, but maybe we can finally look those last 6 years and wave them goodbye and move forward to hopefully green pastures.
Well, when it leans to winning, it's it's worth it, right? And all signs point to there's potential there with Russell Wilson. But looking at how much they gave up, did they give up too much? I mean, was it looks like it was Russell Wilson and a 2022 fourth round pick in exchange for Noah Fant, solid tight end. I'm an Iowa
Mhm.
guy, so a fan of that. Shelby Harris, solid defensive
Yep.
end, right? Drew Lock, it was time for him to go.
Mhm.
And then the other picks in 2022, first, second, and fifth round picks, plus 2023 first and second round picks. I mean, that's a lot. Was that too much?
Yeah, that was the biggest tweet I think I received after I tweeted out the final details, and a ton of people said that was too much. To answer your question, from my personal standpoint, I liked it, and I'll tell you why. Just simply for the fact that you look at pick wise, obviously Denver hasn't had the best of luck in the first rounds, for the exception of a few like a PS2 and a Bradley Chubb and a Von Miller, but you know in a way, Denver is in a win now situation, and I hate
Mm-hmm.
saying this. I don't really want to sit there and say that, George Payton. Here we go. George Payton really like pushing it, like John Elway did when
Mhm.
he got Manning and Akib and D Ware all in the same offseason, but it kind of had a resemblance because you look at Denver, an organization that's obviously going through a whole new brand ownership. Joe Ellis's contract's running out. John Elway's is running out. So you got a new look, and the new look obviously they want to win, and something they haven't seen in quite some time. And do I think on paper it looks a lot? We'll be kind of curious how I wasn't really high on this quarterback class, so that might have been the lot that George might have ridden on. Can't really honestly for say, but on paper it looks a lot. I will miss Shelby Harris. But we got DJ Jones, of course. I think that was a younger Shelby Harris, so I like that. But Drew Lock, his time was up. Noah Fant, I like Fant. I like him. Injury, I know he's been in and out with injuries, but I think he'll do well in Seattle and be utilized. Whoever the quarterback it will be, whether it's Gino or Drew, that's another whole story. But on paper, it looks a lot. My personal opinion, I think they had no choice but to give up what they did to try to win now and maybe down the road get a younger quarterback that can learn from Russ. But for now, I think they got their franchise quarterback and hopefully some Super Bowls in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, it's so important to have that quarterback, and when you don't, we talked about it. You just have to do what you can if you've got a team that's ready to win. And it was interesting because I don't know what you thought as a fan base. When you got rid of Von Miller, I mean, it almost seemed like it was okay. This is going to be a teardown, and but it wasn't. I mean, were you surprised then? How well the team did defensively or, with Von Miller leaving?
I like that's a great question, and I know Vaughn meant so much to Denver and the community as well, and it was a tough one, but going to the Rams, I don't think I could have been more happier for him. Just saying, I think that's what a lot of feedback from Broncos countries was. I scrolled through Twitter, I think a lot more for the fact that he was happy that he's going to a team that can win. Obviously, when which they did, but um, going to a team that can win compared to a team that we're just wasting his talent at this point. His career is obviously now on the back end now, but you look at it, we're not in no position to win. Definitely last year we definitely weren't. I'm not saying that this year we will be either, but the quarterback will help. Um, but no, I'm happy. I think the defense have played wonders because I think now at that point, I really do believe that they really have that mentality like, okay, Vaughn's gone. It's now time to show out and show what we got because
Mhm.
hey, we could easily be the next ones out. Bradley Chubb's contract's up at the end of this year, so much is still going on, but maybe Vaughn can get some more rings in Buffalo. But I like the defense. I really love that it was a team play and not so much what Von Miller did this and that. And I'm not taking anything away because that dude's a goat.
Now, you talked about Von Miller being a player that a lot of people, liked.
Hmm.
And I am an Iowa guy,
Hmm.
and I did hear early on last season from a Broncos media member that Noah Fant wasn't necessarily liked as much. He'd actually gone after this media member on Twitter, so how much is the team going to miss him? I mean, and was he all that liked? And then the third point is, how do you pronounce the new starting tight end? How do you pronounce his name? I
you know, I'm gonna butcher it, and I know that I think I saw an article that actually had to pronounce his name, and I believe it's on Denver's website. But while I tell you about Fant, maybe I can look it up. If not,
yeah.
I'll do my best to try my best to pronounce it. But Noah Fant, I like Fant. I know a lot of people didn't just because he wasn't your typical tight end, even though I thought he was, just simply because he's more of a blocking, he was a blocking tight end and he can still block but still get out in the open. You know, and truthfully, if I can be honest, I re- I think I would have been more frustrated with Jerry Judy than I would have been with Noah Fant, just simply because
Mm,
Judy comes in, obviously big time Alabama wide receiver comes in. And I know that he was still a little potential injury prone from Alabama. Comes in one of the best receivers, even though a lot said Henry Ruggs. Of course, now we, you know,
mm.
no, I'm not gonna talk with Henry Ruggs, but now we look at Henry Ruggs' situation.
Hmm.
A lot of people say, well, he's not even better than him, second, third best from him. So he comes in dropping a lot of passes, and I think I read an article a few days ago, like he's not even the best receiver. He's not even second. We may be looking at 3, 4th on the depth chart, not so much depth chart, but we're talent wise. It's like he's got to show out, and so um, I don't know why a lot of people didn't think Fant liked him. I know a lot was simply some people. I read one tweet. When he got traded is like, well, I guess now he can go act like he's injured, and maybe that
Hmm.
has something to do with it. I don't know. But anyway, so Albert Oku Ugawambum.
Oko Ugawambum.
Yes,
Wow.
is how
Okay.
I say it. I think it's Oku Yagbunam or something like that. I don't
Okay.
know. I'm gonna eventually get it, and when I do, I'll actually send the like, hey, here's how you pronounce it. I know I
Hopefully,
saw.
I'd say hopefully he'll have enough plays that will be amazing to say Albert. Oh,
I like that. Yeah,
there you
I like
go.
that, and I like the young kid. I know his blocking is what is Nathaniel Hackett's going to be his biggest thing. He's going to work on him with this year, and I know Eric Tomlinson from Baltimore. They signed him on a small deal, so that might be your blocking receiver, and that might or your blocking tight end, and then this will be your kind of like your Jason Witten type of tight end. But I like Albert O. Young kid. Maybe we can see a lot of him this year.
Yeah, and it really seems like the skill positions. You've got a lot of young talent. Going to the other wide receivers. I mean, there really is a stable of wide receivers, and they've got a lot of them locked up now with contracts. Is there a bona fide number one? When everyone's healthy on that group.
Ooh, you know, there's 2. I
Hmm.
still think Cortland, even though he wasn't targeted much and he wasn't utilized much, I'm not going to sit there and I know our kind of back Jerry at least a little bit last year on that was the quarterback play was just atrocious. It
Hmm.
didn't matter if it was Teddy, it didn't matter if it was Drew, either end, or and you can tell the receivers was frustrated because of that. Jerry's the biggest one. To answer your question, if I had to say who would be your one, and then who would be your two would be simply the um you'll be Cortland Sutton, I would say would
Hmm.
be your number one. Simply that kid's a stud.
Yeah.
He can, I it's going out on the limb, but I would really put him in the Demaryius Thomas category when healthy.
Wow. Yeah.
Um, I would put him. I am huge on Tim Patrick. He's my number two. Tim Patrick is absolutely top two. And I think if he has another big year, and I know Russ now will help all of them all out.
Hmm.
If Cortland can't stay healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if Tim's in that one range.
Really.
Jerry Judy would be my three. And I think rightfully so, just because drop passes. You look at
Mm.
the stats. Stats wise, he's not up there with the receiving core yet from that draft class. Is it quarterback play? You can say that, but he's also been injury prone as well. So
Mhm.
I think Jerry has a lot. KJ Hamler, I think he's going to
Yes.
come back this year with a good season, coming off an ACL tear, and I expect him to big things. They got the receiving core.
Mhm.
Cortland, I think, will be still number one as long as he's targeted and stays healthy, and I expect big things. But Cortland Sutton's definitely one. But all the listeners out there, keep an eye on Tim Patrick, and don't be surprised if he's your main target in 22.
Well, I have him stashed on one of my dynasty teams, and I was just kind of asking. Shout out to Tyler Carp. I said, should I keep him? And he said no, but I like him, and I like that point. I mean, he does have that potential, and really, when you look at the receivers, Denver, top to bottom, depth wise as well, they probably have the best in the NFL, don't they?
Oh, absolutely, and I think And I think that a lot of people, we're the youngest team last year. We are headed into as the youngest team. And I think that was a trend as we got Drew Lock and we had Noah Fant and, Dalton Risner and, the whole draft class. It was simply this team could be a dynasty in the future. Obviously, we weren't in a win now situation. But now, obviously, quarterback play didn't turn out. Okay,
Right.
fair enough. Hasn't turned out very well. Receiving core, you can definitely. And what's funny is, you look at in December, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick both re-signing with the Denver Broncos, and now that looks like a more of a steal as a
Hmm.
great uh, uh, deals for Denver because now we look at the market and the market is through the roof when it comes to receivers. And is it something that Denver probably couldn't worked out with both of them? Probably not. And so you look at it, and George is on something. You just we gotta see how this quarterback thing played out, which it should be well. But this receiving core, I will say this right now, will be the top three this year in 22 when it comes to stats. And you look at Justin Outten real quick, the offensive coordinator, and what I like about this guy, and I get that Nathaniel Hackett, the new head coach,
Hmm.
is going to implement. He'd be the play calling, and then that's fine. That's perfectly fine. But you look at his time with uh, with Green Bay, and it's going to be simple. He's a guy that was, he got the tight ends involved, and I'm telling you guys, here in Denver, or not here in Denver. I'm not obviously in Denver, but in Denver, I think that he's gonna spread that ball wide open, and you're gonna see a lot of deep passes. You're gonna see a lot of throwing, and I'm not gonna knock out the running game. I think you're still gonna see the running game, but you look at it. They're gonna install the outside zone run. They're gonna do the play action pass. They're gonna do the deep shots down the field. I think that's where Judy, and I think that's where Sutton, Hamler's, they're all their three speeds going to show. And I think you're going to see a lot of throwing in Denver, but a little memory of Peyton Manning's days.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at all those receivers, but then even you have this stud back in year two. I mean, what are you expecting from Javonte Williams? I mean, I have him on all my dynasty teams, and I'm excited for him. And now that obviously Melvin Gordon's gone, I mean, is he going to be the bell cow back in year two?
I would say he's definitely your go-to one. I think if Mike Boone, if he can come back, I know he left. He got out with an injury last year, and and that's was a part of 21 is what the season was for Denver. But Javante, I expect the workload to be more than it was in 21, and I like what he's shown. He showed a lot as a young back, of course, a rookie at North Carolina, but Javante, I still expect him to go probably later in the draft, probably get another running back just to have as that potential backup in case Boone happens to go back down to injury. You never know what may happen, even with Javante. So I mean, the workload is going to get heavy. I think a lot of responsibility is going to be held on Javante this year, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I think he's capable of leading the charge in Denver.
Well, speaking of the offense as well, I mean, do you think that they're going to let Russ cook then?
As long as he doesn't cook in the stadium and start catching that thing on fire. Uh, but no,
Yeah.
jokes aside, no, I think they're gonna let Russell Wilson play. I think they're gonna let
Yeah.
him utilize what he can do. We look at Nathaniel Hackett, we look at Jason Elton. They're very familiar with of course Aaron Rodgers and um in some in in some in the formation what they're gonna do
Yep.
and
Well,
we
yeah, they're definitely gonna, having Javante Williams is important, and they definitely want to, let him kind of throw and be comfortable. They wouldn't have brought him to Denver if they weren't going to let him be him, right?
Absolutely. And I think they're gonna have to let him be like, hey Russ, just literally as they always say, sling it. Just sling that ball, and I think that they'll be perfectly fine. You look at the expectation for Russell Wilson. Um, I think the expectations are what they were in Seattle. I think it's going to be an
Mm-hmm.
MVP season.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be an MVP season. If they get to that Super Bowl, maybe another Super Bowl, but they're high. I mean, obviously Russ he can meet the expectations, but they start, poor performance. Good Lord Almighty, hate saying this, but if there's a poor performance, I don't know what to say at this point. But the expectations are through the roof. I mean, come on now. He comes in obviously winning a ring against a team that he's now playing for, as they beat in Super Bowl 48. And you look at the quarterback. I mean, come on. He's Russell Wilson, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl winner, league MVP. The expectations are there, obviously, extremely through the roof. The excitement in Broncos country and across not just in Denver and in Colorado, but across the country and who knows beyond the world. But man, Broncos country is lit, and we're excited. But now we gotta see it on the field now.
Well, speaking of on the field here, I did get a chance to interview a 49ers a media guy and podcaster the other day, and one of his followers, Steve, is chiming in here because we were talking about the
Mhm.
receivers, and he is really high on the 49ers receivers. He said, having said that, Debo 1800, Ayuk sounds like he's going to have
Yep.
um, possibly a breakout year, and you got Kittle and all that. And so, Jane, yes, yep. And eh, so I don't know. I mean, really, when you look at it, and yes, the 49ers have the defense and everything, but top to bottom, I just, and this is an outside Bears fan. I just I like the talent of the Denver receivers. Debo is Debo. Ayuk is definitely good, but overall, 1 through 4, Denver has to be the best. And thanks for the comment, Steve. But I just it's hard to go against what Denver has.
I like San Francisco. I feel bad for Steve, and I think there's. I feel bad for Steve.
Steve.
You guys got two quarterbacks that can definitely ball out, and I really Jimmy G can play, and Trey Lance looks like he can play as well, and I think they're solid there. And what are you guys missing? I know it's not a Bronco country or question. I hope we helped you guys out from taking Russell Wilson away from Seattle. Maybe that's the
Mm.
missing link. Maybe the Rams was a fluke. Obviously, the Cardinals was um was a bust or two. So maybe we helped you guys out in that degree. So what are you guys missing? Hey, let's start off with Russell Wilson. We'll see if we took some of that off of you guys' hands.
And Steve lived in Colorado for 3 years, so he does root for you know the Broncos on Denver, or at least the division. I think he
Very
means. But
nice.
when you look at it, I did tell you offline. I was on another podcast, and we were talking about the division,
Mm-hmm.
and the Raiders came up. All the moves the Raiders made, and this has to be the
Yep.
tough division, right? And so when you look at it, first of all, let's go ahead and rank the division quarterbacks. All right. Okay.
Mm.
So, and the news of Derek Carr being locked up now,
Mm-hmm.
and he maybe hasn't been all that scary for the Broncos in the past. Now that he has Devontae,
Yep.
that may be a different thing. And Hunter Renfro, I mean, it's a solid 1-2 plus Darren Waller. And sorry, Steve, I almost would put the Raiders receiving crew up with the
Mm-hmm.
49ers. Now, I like what the 49ers do coaching wise better than the
Yeah.
Raiders and better than the Broncos, and we'll get
Mm-hmm.
there as well. But division quarterbacks, what are your thoughts, Mike?
Ooh. Oh my god. 'Cause I'm a huge Herbert guy. Um, oh man. I would say because he's owned that division the last 6 years, Patrick Mahomes would still be one. Even though Russell Wilson, in my opinion, has a better resume. Of course, he's been in the league longer than Pat Mahomes, but Chiefs Kingdom. I hate saying this. I'll give Pat
Yeah.
Mahomes. I'll give Pat Mahomes his respect in the division. Russ has to come in and earn it, so I'll give him that.
All right.
Pat Mahomes one. I'm going to be biased. Two's got to be Russell Wilson.
Mm-hmm.
Three's Herbert and four's Carr. But this division quarterback is tough.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely tough. You look at Derek Carr and what he has now. You still got Josh Jacobs in the backfield. They got Devontae Adams in the trade. Winfro, and I mean, I wish unfortunate. With Henry Ruggs, I hate hearing that happen, but
Mm-hmm.
that team's gonna. I still think, but Josh McDaniels is why I don't think
Yes.
that concerns me. I hated to see him go in there, but it is what it is. But I would say Mahomes, Wilson, Herbert, and Carr would be my top four, and that's a tough one.
It really is. I mean,
That's tough.
you really, I mean, this is a division where there really are no wrong answers. I mean,
Absolutely not. No.
Mahomes has proven it that he's been there before, so he gets the benefit of the doubt. But we're really going to see how great he is without Tyreek Hill. I mean, that's going to be important. Derek Carr, I mean, we're going to see how good he is as well. I mean, with those weapons, if he doesn't do it this year, then he's never going to do it. I mean, so this has to be a year for him. Herbert, he's got, people are saying MVP. And they saying they like the Chargers, but I mean, that's kind of the sexy pick. Oh yeah, let's go ahead and pick the Chargers. But we just don't know what they're going to be on offense. We just don't know that. And it's hard to really trust their coach as well, Brandon Staley. It's hard to trust that. And, speaking of coaches, and you brought it up, I mean, are you trusting version 2.0 of head coach Josh McDaniels?
Absolutely not. No.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
I had Thomas Hall last night on the podcast, and he's a writer for Denver, part of Mile High Huddle, and and he nailed it. What he did in Denver was atrocious. I don't know. I'm with Thomas. I never thought of that in the long run in regards to maybe he's trying to destroy the franchise. I don't know what he was trying to do in Denver, and then of course in Indianapolis, what he did. Hired, and now I'm out the door in a split second.
And there's an interesting Bears connection there because the current Bears head coach would not have been in Indianapolis, had McDaniels not been there, and he just went ahead and stayed on, So, but yeah, McDaniels. I mean, it just has proven not to work the whole Patriots way in other places. And we're going to see this year in a couple different places, Josh McDaniels being one of those. He's got the quarterback. He's got, all the weapons. Can he put it together?
We'll find out, and of course, he'll be he'll be coaching a quarterback that's not named Tom Brady, and of course, what's his name? Can't think of his name off the top of my. I can see his face now, but anyways, so we'll see. I don't trust him. I hope I'm a Raider hater. I would love to see him struggle, but at the same time, I love to see him. They got talent, so it wouldn't surprise me if he won out there either.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, 2.0 Josh McDaniels, I think he's got to prove himself, not just in his self, but I think to the whole league.
He does, and so in the division, that you don't trust him. You have, quite frankly, a head coach that I thought that might end up with the Bears in Nathaniel Hackett.
Mm-hmm.
He's a newbie. Josh McDaniels has been there before in that division. What are you trusting with Nathaniel Hackett then?
Something that Denver has struggled really since 2015, even that year that they were more defensive team than they were offense, and Peyton Manning struggled, and it really showed on the field. But
Mhm,
that his playing days were definitely done. But
mhm,
will we see the production of that 2013 team that just set number of records off the chain? I don't even know. That was
mhm,
insane with Wes Welker and DT and Noshawn Moreno, and the list goes on. But
mhm.
um, I like Nathaniel Hack. I love his energy. If anything else, it's his energy because I
Yes.
love. I'm not going to say too much, but he said during the introductory press conferences, "This is fun.
Mhm.
We got Russell Wilson." Obviously, I'm layman terms, rated G or layman terms, but
Yeah.
no, I love his energy. I absolutely love his energy, and so if anything, he brings energy to this team. But something Denver's lacked in the last 6 years is offense. And
Mhm,
hopefully, Pat Shermer, that offense is non existent, what he did. And that was embarrassing. But
mhm.
hopefully, his offense shows. It can't get any worse than it was last year. But if anything, I love his energy. I hope that this offense gets turned around. Offensive minded kid with now a quarterback that can do it. So he's got the weapons. We just got to now put it together.
Tell you what, I mean, Aaron Rodgers was singing his praises,
Yep.
and these days, I'm not quite sure what that means. I mean, you got a talented quarterback that loves him, and that's a big part of it. So I think that's huge. He's got the history in the league. So he has that going for him. He's got the pieces. Mike, I just one thing, going back to Russell Wilson, he looks, I don't know. It's kind of cringeworthy sometimes. Some of the comments that he makes, right? And you
Hmm.
kind of wonder. You look at some of these quarterbacks, like a Derek Carr. I know you're a Raider hater, but you look at him and he's honest, and
Yep.
he seems to be like uh, just a good dude, right?
Hmm.
Even if you maybe hate him because he's a Raider, he just seems to be a good dude, honest dude
Yeah.
up front. Um, Russell Wilson always seems to be worrying about his brand.
Hmm.
Even when he's saying, what is it, Bronco? What do you say on NFL Network the other day? Bronco country, let's ride. And it was just kind of a weird way to say it. I mean, so
Yeah.
just that whole brand of Russell Wilson. That's what I wonder about. For the Broncos to really gel and actually do what they want to do is compete for a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. The "Let's Ride" thing, goes back to our Super Bowl run in 13 when we lost to eventually Russell Wilson when they had the banner in downtown Denver. "Let's ride." I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know if that's I don't know what his intentions are now. I don't know if that's he's trying to combine a Bronco riding a Bronco and maybe that I don't even know. But he loves wearing his brand. I got nothing wrong with people supporting the brand, but I think when you're trying to practically be the quote unquote Jesus of this organization and help resurrect this organization again, I think you just got to start back from the ground level and let's just, hey, I'm Russell Wilson. Yes, I'm a
Mhm.
MVP, Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl winner, but I'm here to help you guys and we're going to be a team. And I'm with you. I'm a little concerned. I just hope that brand doesn't get it to his head too much.
Yeah, and it sounds like from the practice, everyone's excited,
Yep.
and so when you have someone who's been there before, who's done it, who's
Hmm.
won a Super Bowl, that makes a difference. The building, everyone leadership wise, you're going to follow someone who's been there, and the defense has been a solid. Part of the team for quite a while. I mean, what are you looking for in this defense? Maybe some key additions that have been made, and then maybe some needs, going into still free agency and the draft.
I know a lot of people, and I had Josie on last Thursday. We talked strictly Dallas, and we talked strictly Denver, and Randy Gregory was brought up, and rightfully so. But I don't have him as the best acquisition for Denver. I think it's DJ Jones, the younger version of Shelby Harris. I think he fills that defensive line perfect. for what Denver's trying to do. And, that defensive line it wasn't bad, but when you're consistently out there, when the offense is just 3-and-out, turnover, 3-and-out, whatever case may be, of course, anybody's going to get tired. Am I going to sit there and be dumb and say that Randy Gregory is not a bad pickup? Absolutely not. But I do think it's going to be one of those boomer busts pickups because he's either going to be on the field or he's going to be off the field due to injury.
Mm-hmm.
And so it can help him, or it can really make it look bad. So I like DJ Jones. I like Randy Gregory. But Jones would be my first one. Of course, you got Alex Singleton on a 1-year deal, the linebacker out of the Eagles, and I know we picked up I believe a corner from or a safety from the Niners. I can't think of his name. Quan Williamson, I think his name, but I know we picked him up. The needs for Denver still is a corner. I still think they need a corner to help out PS2 and to help out down. I think I'm missing. I think it's Bassie and Michael, another Iowa kid, and so another corner. There's a linebacker. I'll be a little biased, but a linebacker, Brian Asamoah from Oklahoma, that I think can fit the scheme real quick. They need an edge guy. I think a corner and an edge that can play, both off the line and in the line in the box of the linebacker. And I think, an offensive tackle. I think his last name's, I can't think of his first name, but Luke is from Washington State. I like the Billy Turner hire or the signing of Billy Turner, but it's a Band-Aid fix, and so I think they need a younger kid. I think Luke is from Washington State, can play right tackle and can probably back up Turner and even fill in at times. Would be so right tackle still be my top one. Linebacker and an edge would be my top 3 needs, and the corner would be my top 4 for Denver. And in regards to continuing the free agency, but definitely in the draft come the 20, I think it's 28th of this month.
Yeah, it's coming up quick. And Steve also here says a lot of former Niners D-line basically don't pan out with another team. So
yeah,
and we'll kind of see what happens, with that draft. There's still a lot going, into the season. Still a lot left to see. And we talked about the AFC West a little bit. Number one, I guess, what AFC West team at this point scares you the most?
The Raiders.
Yeah.
The Raiders. And
is that hard to admit?
It is, because we know for the years, it's always the last 6 years didn't really matter. Both teams struggled, but it's the Raiders, and I think because Davante Adams, because now you look, okay, this team's actually being serious about what they're trying to do. I like the Chargers a lot. I did have them winning the division last year. I got them winning the division this year.
Okay.
Prior to Wilson, I'm still going to stick with that for right now. I'll still stick with that, but I think the Raiders. I like. I'm a huge Josh Jacobs fan. Like Carr.
I've been a Jacobs fan too, but I'm starting to be out on him because of last year, right? All the injuries, and I really think with everything the Raiders have done, that Josh Jacobs, his health can really, that be one of the big turning points of the season. If he stays healthy and he can provide a solid running game, it's going to be hard to stop them.
I think so. And you look at it, and I like Jacobs. I think Carr, that Davante Adams, that was like, really? Man, you guys signed Aaron Rodgers and took his buddy away. That was a bummer. But I think the Raiders. I'm going to stick with them right now as the don't be surprised if this team makes the playoffs as the second best team in the West. But they're definitely a team on the rise, and that would be my oh crap moment.
Which team's going to finish in the bottom?
It won't. I hope it's not us again. Crap. Well, I got the Chargers winning, so I know it's not them.
Yeah.
I still say 3 of the 4 teams make the playoffs. I'll give the Raiders the bottom. Not a Raider. It's not going to be a bashing of the Raider. I'll still stick with them on the bottom just because strictly Josh McDaniels.
Okay. Yeah. I can see that. Josh McDaniels is almost the Mike McCarthy of the AFC, I would have to say.
Yep.
But we'll see. He has a chance to turn that around. And when you look at the other teams, presumably Denver, you have them in the playoffs. They're
Mhm.
going to be in the hunt. What other AFC teams worry you the most outside of the division?
I still am going to go out on a limb and say Buffalo's going to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm going to go and
Okay.
go and go. I like Buffalo. Cincinnati would be my team that don't take your eyes off them.
Hmm.
Simply, they got Collins to help on that offensive line. A nice pickup from Dallas. I'm not a Joey B guy, but Joey B played well. That Jamar Chase can play.
Yes.
Man, that defense is nice. Joe Mixon in the running game. That offensive line's getting picked back up again. I say Cincinnati's still a team. I'm not sold on Cleveland. I'm not doubting that Watson thing. That's no. AFC North, I think that division's gonna really beat each other up. I
Hmm.
like the Bengals winning it, but I think Pittsburgh has no quarterback right now that I would sit there and say you're good. Cleveland is too much drama going on with them. Baltimore, I still question Lamar at times.
Hmm.
That AFC East, I do like Miami on paper. Will it gel together? We don't know. Mike McDaniels, the offensive coordinator from the Chargers, took over. He's a run-heavy guy, so I don't know how that's going to help with Tyreek. I like Buffalo, but answer your question, long answer, but Cincinnati. I think they worry me still. They still worry me.
Yeah, I mean, when you have a quarterback that's been there and done it, I mean that makes a difference. And Joey B did that,
Yep.
and we'll see. And Josh Allen took a step. Those are going to be tough teams. And
Mm-hmm.
I do like your pick with Buffalo in the Super Bowl and even winning it.
Yep.
On the NFC, it's complete another kind of wide open kind of mess. But when you look at the AFC, Denver, I do think they're going to be competing. I
Yep.
really think. I thought you were going to say that Chiefs to be in the bottom of the division. I, it's
You
hard.
know,
I get it.
I,
It's
I was
hard to
thinking that.
go against Patrick Mahomes, but they really struggled with their defense. It'll be interesting who they pick up, in the draft and everything. But without Tyreek Hill, I think that's going to be a different team.
They won't be as dynamic without him.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so I think now teams can really think obviously now your biggest weapon is going to be obviously Travis Kelsey and then
Hmm.
uh, Hardiman or whatever his Hardyman or whatever his name is.
McCole Hardman.
Um,
Yep.
there we go. And
Yep.
so that'd be your top two receivers in my opinion. The running game, I think Tampa exposed him a lot in Super Bowl. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of teams caught on quick. And so I think a lot of why Kansas City struggled last year because they look at that tape. Well, they realize if we can get to Mahomes, he's
Mm-hmm.
only deep if he's in the pocket. You make him run,
Mm-hmm.
he's scatterbrained. So I still stay Raiders. It would not surprise me if Kansas City was the fourth. It would not surprise me one bit.
Yeah.
Denver, we got to stay healthy. I'll stick right now.
Yeah.
I'll stick us at 2 and 3, but probably 3. But I like the Chargers. Kansas City and Denver probably can flip 2-3. And
Mm-hmm.
Josh McDaniels, if he can actually coach for once,
Mm-hmm.
he might actually have something out there. But it wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
surprise me. I like your answer though. I wouldn't be surprised either with Kansas City.
So obviously there's a lot to happen with the draft and everything. And it sounds like you do have the Broncos in the playoffs. And
Mm-hmm.
when you get in the playoffs, really anything can happen. We've seen the number 1 seed go down, on both
Yep.
sides. So the Bengals have really, I think, opened things up with what they did with their Super Bowl run. That AFC, anything can happen. So
Mm-hmm.
it sounds like you've got Buffalo in the Super Bowl and Denver not getting there yet. Will that be a disappoint? I guess not only disappointing season, but will that be a failure of a season if they don't get to the Super Bowl this year? If the Broncos don't?
I know to some they're probably gonna. I'm sure there's fans out there that now expect us to go 17-0 and run the preseason like it's nothing, and 17-0 season and playoffs. No, that's not realistic. But I'm sure there's Bronco fans out there that now expect us to make the Super Bowl this year, and that's fair enough. I respect that. I just don't simply because yes, we have a better quarterback. But the receiving core, we got to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing. Um, I still want to see this team. We got to make it play. Like I told Thomas last night, we got to make the playoffs, and then we can talk everything else. Would it
Mhm.
be my personal expectation for them miss the miss the playoffs? Well, that would definitely. Now that would definitely. I would be disappointed about that. Super Bowl. No, and here's why. I think Buffalo is a better team on paper and on
Mhm.
the field than probably than the rest of the AFC. Period. Um, Now, 23, I expect Denver to be in the Super Bowl, but 22, I'll give them a 1 year uh, kind of get together meeting and kind of work things out. Let's get to the playoffs. If we advance to the divisional round, I think that's a good year. We advance to the AFC Championship game. All right, well, we far expectations, but for me personally, this year, even though we got Russ Wilson, let's make the playoffs and then let's see how the ride goes from there. But yeah, I wouldn't be disappointed if we did not get to the Super Bowl. Now next year, I will be.
Something that I was thinking about as you were talking, and I don't know if you've looked at this, but how well Russell Wilson has done when he's played in
Mhm.
Denver. Is that going to be an issue for him to now be playing all of his home games? In that mile high atmosphere. I mean, is that going to be a factor?
I think to an extent, I know the colder weather, obviously, it's a little bit cold. I've never been to Seattle, but I'm sure Denver's a little bit colder than Seattle can get in October, November, December. The thin air, I still think the thin air messes with a lot of people. It takes a lot of time to get adjusted to it. And of course, John Gruden, he always now he was I or watched a video on him. He said, I always have my players there at least a day or two when it's supposed to be because of thin air. So
Hmm.
Russ did he was pretty good in Denver on the opposing side. It shouldn't affect it, but I do believe it will get to him early once everything kicks into gear. I think don't be surprised a few preseason snaps or even week 1 and week 2 that he might struggle here and there, but I think he'll be fine.
Well, Steve has another question here, and both divisions, mainly I think 2021, the NFC West was deep. The NFC West is going to be interesting this year. The news now, depending on what they do, the Cardinals do.
Mhm.
Hopefully, they extend Kyler Murray. But who is which division is better, AFC West or NFC West?
AFC West. And the reason why, and here's why, Steve. My personal opinion, I think you got a very questionable Arizona team with whether or not Kyler Murray gets re-signed or extended is what he's wanting, but that kind of plays into it. The Rams, I love Matthew Stafford, but can they continue to do what they did last year, which I expect they should? It's tough to repeat. I would have said the NFC West had Seattle still have Russ, but with the quarterback situation, I think they're a downer. I think the 49ers should be okay. But top to bottom, I think the West and the AFC this year runs the Western Division, so to speak.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the all of the teams, in the AFC West, and all of them are just solid. They have an opportunity. In the NFC West, you do have the returning Super Bowl champions,
Mhm.
and you do have a couple of teams that have that opportunity as well to get in the playoffs, but there just isn't the superstar quarterbacks that's in the AFC West. And I think uh, we've shown it is a quarterback driven league. I mean, you
Yep.
have to have a quarterback that's going to make those plays, and we just don't know with San Francisco yet. What Trey Lance is going to be. It sounds
Mhm.
like it's gonna be good in the future. I would say even 2023 for them as well. And maybe you see a Denver 49ers Super Bowl in 2023. I mean, that could be very well possible to see something like that. 2023 is going to be interesting for both the Niners and the Broncos. From an outsider perspective, I guess that's
Mhm.
in my opinion.
I would say so. I think especially the Niners because I like Jimmy G. He still has a lot of years ahead of him, and of course Trey Lance. Obviously now his second year, but I do like that. I like Trey Lance. It's curious what Lynch is going to do from the front office standpoint. And of course, Kyle Shanahan on the field with the quarterback position this year, and I don't know what the trade value is of Jimmy G is, and I don't know besides Pittsburgh and I don't know who else is looking for a quarterback, but
At Carolina, maybe, but
Carolina, yeah.
who knows? What they're gonna do. Um, it is interesting. That would be an interesting Super Bowl, Denver and the 49ers with the Shanahan connections there.
Yeah, a lot of Bronco people. We don't know why John Elway passed up on Kyle when Vance Joseph was selected as our head coach, and I question that myself because we always have good practices, weak practices with Vance. That's all we always heard from Vance. But phenomenal defensive coordinator with Arizona. But the what ifs. With Kyle, we never know. But some say it was a personal thing with him and John. I don't really know, but I always question the what if with Kyle and Denver again.
Well, this has been fantastic. There's still a lot, to find out with the Broncos. It has to be an exciting year, and I don't know, it sounds like your tempered expectations, but there's still, there has to be an
Mhm.
excitement that there hasn't been with the Broncos in a few years at least, right?
Oh man, dude, I'm beyond stoked, and I want to talk to a few. I want to talk to Clyde. I haven't talked to him in quite a while, but man, Broncos country, we're as Jerry Judy said when he found out, we're lit, and it's exciting. Now, if we can, the expectations of the Super Bowl will be cool, but right now I want some playoff football, and then we'll go from there. But it's going to be an exciting year. The expectations are, of course, high, but boy, we're excited. We got the number three and the better number three than we did a year ago.
Absolutely. Well, this has been fantastic. Where can everyone find you again?
Find me on my personal one on air with Mike Mike. The podcast Air Raid _podcast. Facebook Air Raid Attack Podcast, YouTube Air Raid Attack Podcast, and all major podcast platforms.
Do you post on any specific days or anything like that?
So usually we record on Thursday nights. My co-host Jamie will be on here within the next month, and trust me, I am so excited. But nonetheless, Thursday night we record. Friday mornings, Friday evenings depends on schedule. We'll be dropping the release. So tomorrow there'll be three, just because of the scheduling this week. But three brand new episodes dropping tomorrow night.
Looking forward to it. Thanks again. Thanks again, Steve, for joining us as
Absolutely.
well. And appreciate it, Mike. We're definitely going to have to connect later on as the season gets going.
Hey, looking forward to it. I'm so glad that you invited me on. It was fun, and hey, I'm ready for football again.
Me too. Have a good night.
Hey, you as well. Take care, guys.